Hey guys, Nick here. Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick's next Walking Dead story. What if the Whisperers found Rick? Now, before we get started, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, and check out the About tab and homepage for the Omniverse so you don't miss anything for the past, present, and the future of the Omniverse. With all that said, let's begin. So this is the next Walking Dead story, which will be two parts. What if the Whisperers found or saved Rick? Now, in the original timeline, Rick Grimes, in the middle of season 9-ish, pretty much sacrificed himself by blowing up the bridge. But it turned out he was alive. And Jadis used the CRM and lied, saying that he was a B instead of an A, so that he wouldn't end up in a lab full of walkers and end up dead, pretty much, saving him. But in the end, Rick was just held hostage for the longest time, almost turned into a dead, complete, zoned in CRM soldier. But we all know how that ended up turning out. And here's where this comes in. I've touched upon the Reapers before, 3 years ago, when I first started this channel, and it's definitely due for a remake. There's a lot there that I neglected or did not care to, or even paid attention to the fact that I got wrong. And now we touch upon the very idea of the Whisperers. Rick meeting Alpha has been a thing that people have wondered, seen, and speculated. Now, it's been in the comics. It's been in my stories over and over and over and over. And taken liberty from the comics and have more stuff planned with them. And it's just been an overall concept of Rick meeting the Whisperers, as well as other people doing it. But today we're going to experience a full-on interaction and story based with Rick Grimes and the Whisperers. What if the Whisperers found Rick and he was not saved by the CRM or the Reapers? What if he was saved by the Whisperers? An idea that I had originally put off for the longest time. And today, in two parts, we're going to go ahead and see what would happen. So let's dive in. We get to the point, Rick is eventually pulled out of the hole that Rick and Daryl were thrown into because of their whole fight, Negan, Maggie, yada yada. And Rick gets out, he's going to go to the bridge. But the horse screws him over big time, is because it's stupid. Horses are dumb. And it leads to Rick falling on the pipe, impaling him. And with everybody's strength, Shane, Sasha, his family, you name it, he gets to the bridge and he sacrifices himself. But he's alive. Jadis then tries to alert the CRM helicopter, but then she is fatally wounded and killed by walkers? But it seems like they're sentient. The helicopter pays no mind to what has just happened and sees that now Jadis is dead, so there's no point in saving or doing anything with her. And they see what's going on. The CRM could easily just take care of this threat, but to them it's just walkers, especially since they're in a helicopter and can't really like pinpoint them far away. And, nature. So the CRM just doesn't care. They fly away, leaving these walkers the perfect chance as a big, huge, tall one, surrounded by a bunch of other soldier-like ones, follow one in the middle, a bald, pretty much intoned leader type person who looks down at Rick and puts on the mask of a walker and says, "Move and take him with us. We could use him." And once they get back, Beta questions Alpha on this very much so. And he says, "There's no point in bringing him in. If that lady or anyone in the surrounding area knows this man, it could bring the danger to our doorstep that we had seen and heard about for a long time." But for now, Alpha doesn't care. She says, "We'll deal with it when the time is right. A lonely man is no match for the Whisperers." Rick Grimes eventually wakes up. His wounds kind of healed, and yet the Whisperers didn't heal him like the CRM did. But he is he was tended to, and he was more or less, healed to a degree. But Alpha, being the animal that she is, and being Alpha, they wouldn't pay too much mind into tending to Rick, just enough to keep him alive. But then he sees he is securely, and I mean securely, tied to a tree with walkers surrounding him, just staring at him. And Rick, because he can obviously tell that these are not walkers, he demands to know where he is, where the leader is, and why he's imprisoned here, and what happened to him. A giant walker, man-like person, Beta, confronts him and says, "You best respect the Alpha for what she has done to you." And he grabs both of his knives out and says, "I wouldn't have been so nice. Hold your tongue, or I will remove it." And Rick, knowing that he is still very much injured and everything, knows he can't put up a fight even if he were to get out of the tied tree. But he does say he wishes to know who this Alpha person is. Not just because he thinks he might owe her a little bit, but because this group has serious explaining to do. Like, where is he? Who is this Alpha? And why they bothered to save him? Because he knows they are not good people. Soon enough, someone steps out and puts a finger to her lips and unmasks Alpha. And she introduces herself as Alpha and her group, the Whisperers, who blend among the walkers. And she says, "We wouldn't have bothered to save you if it were any other case, but we saw some interest in you. Some lady had a helicopter by her side. Destruction lay near our land. A bridge. We couldn't have that. So we decided to see the problem out ourselves. Then we saw you, and a lady with a helicopter. We couldn't have that happen. Those people figure out about our land. It would destroy everything the Whisperers are. The only reason you are alive is because I let you live." And Rick demands to know about his people. Now that it's basically confirmed that whatever that helicopter was, Jadis was behind it. He demands to know about his people. And he's getting really angry. And he demands to be let go. But Alpha says, "No, we can't have that. You're not going anywhere." And she gets her shotgun and demands that he move. And she shows him the horde. And she says, "My people, the Whispers, we live as nature intended." And they have a conversation just like Alpha and Rick did in the comics, and Daryl and Alpha in the show. Like, "That's all you feed your sheep so they'll follow you?" And she says, because I am the Alpha, and if the Alpha doesn't assert herself, then there's chaos. If you truly think that you are worth piking up some sort of attack on the Alpha, no matter if you were even able to get back to your people or not, you would still have the Horde to deal with. Killing me won't change that. Rick says, "You're right, it won't change that. But keeping me hostage from my people because you see any sign of threat makes you a weak leader. It proves that you'll do anything and everything, and it makes you desperate. See, unlike my people, my family, my group, my communities, we would have stomped you out in a second. As a matter of fact, we were dealing with another threat when we saw your kind lurking. And if we had seen or been able to get to you sooner, you wouldn't even be here right now." And Alpha's like, "Neither would you." And Rick says, "You also forgot one teensy little detail of saving me. You should have left me to die." And Rick goes forward, and before Alpha can shoot her shotgun, Rick pushes Alpha off of the cliff into the Horde. Her mask and Alpha herself killed by the fall and killed by the Horde. And with this, Rick takes the shotgun and runs as fast as he can. He doesn't care who follows, he doesn't care what happens to him. He just knows he has to get out of here. And this shotgun's the only thing to his name. Beta eventually figures out about Rick's escape and Alpha's death. He eventually finds her in the Horde and decapitates. Or, at least something like that. It depends on how marred Alpha would be. Because, she wouldn't be decapitated like her canon self. So it depends how crazed you think Beta would go about it. Lydia eventually finds out, but then her tears turn to some sort of relief because of who her mother was. And this is a slightly younger Lydia, you gotta remember. This isn't like Lydia from, after 7 years after Rick. This is Lydia like a much younger Lydia. But still, even being younger, part of her still feels relief. So she decides to silently thank Rick, because I feel that they would have talked from time to time while Rick was kept prisoner. And she decides to wait it out to see what Beta will do and how he will respond now that they need a new Alpha. Beta eventually goes to his place and does this whole freak out thing. And with his mind perking, Alpha's face on his mask, and his mind all kinds of messed up. Does this mean an earlier Alpha death could make Beta even crazier? Around the same crazy and severely doom the group because of this much earlier occurrence? Or can Rick knowing about the Whispers and not getting kidnapped mean that this actually makes our group stronger and more prepared for the true threat of the Whisperers to the communities, since Rick has seen it, dealt with it, and fought with it personally? Find out in the finale how it ends up.